Hi everyone, we're live now. This is Muskan Tiwari, a co-committee member from CodeChef VIT, and today I'm going to take a webinar on quick start to Python. So let's wait for 5 minutes and let's wait for more people to join in, then we'll start. Can everybody hear me? Can everyone hear me? Yeah, so people are slowly joining. Let's wait for 5 minutes. We'll start exactly at 10:05. Okay, so till everybody joins, let me just give a quick review about why we've decided to end up with Python today. There are a lot of programming languages out there, but Python is one of the most popular languages at the moment. Um, Even though Python is a slow language, the interpreter takes more time. Python is so easy to write, so easy to use that a lot of people have been using it. It's highly productive, it's concise, it's expressive, so less time, less effort, and a few, like if you're writing code, if you're writing about 50 lines of code in C or C++, you'll end up writing only 10 to 12 lines in Python. So from the side of the user, it's always easier to use a language like Python, which is why we've decided to study Python today. Okay, so a lot of you, I'm hoping, are freshers. So for you, it'll be a very nice start, especially since you have CSE 1001 this time. It'll be easier for you to grasp a lot of new concepts. What we'll be going through is we'll be brushing through the topics, the different, objects, classes, the different things basically that Python uses. All right. So before we start, I use this Python IDLE GUI, and Python has a lot of versions. One of the latest versions is Python 3.7, which is the version that we're going to use here. So this is what is called a Python shell. This is what that looks like. And before starting Python, for those of you who do not know the difference between a Python shell, like writing on a shell and writing on the editor, basically any line of code that you write on the editor can also be written on the shell. But the only difference is while you're writing on the shell, every statement that you enter gets executed. So what happens is that if you're writing a lot of loops, if you're writing a lot of statements, it'll be very difficult for you to understand what you're actually writing. So it's for huge lines of code, it is preferred that you use the editor, but for small lines like testing 1 or 2 lines of code, it's easier for you to use the shell. Yeah, to use the shell. So any doubt till now? Does anybody have any problems? Any technical glitches, anything? Okay. So, okay, so I have a few people live here, so I think I will start now. So, first you, whichever laptops you use or whichever computers you use, do something, go to the Python shell. This is what the shell looks like. Now, uh, first thing first, Python follows an interpreter. It does not follow a compiler, which essentially means that each line of code is executed one by one. So if you've written 50 lines of code and line 30 has an error, the Python is going to, okay. So Preeti Goyal is asking me which shell are we supposed to use. So for those of you who do not know this, you go to any the web browser that you use and you click on download Python. One second, I'm gonna show you. Okay, so it's a little bit slow. Okay, just do something for now. Use, go to Google, click on download Python. The first or second link that you get, download Python 3.7.2. You will get this shell that I'm using. So you can use it from there. The first link itself, you should get it. All right. So I continue. Preeti, I hope you're able to download Python. So now, as I have already spoken about interpreter and compiler, I will start with the basic print operations. So for any C language or C++ language, there are some files that header files that you have to include, like studio.h, iostream, for C and C++ respectively. But for Python, all of that is inbuilt. You don't have to import any packages to use the input output functions. So if I want to print something, the first thing that you always print is like hello world. So let us print. Then you use brackets. I'm sure all of you know that any string that requires to be printed is put within double quotes. Here you can use double quotes and single quotes both. Hello world. So you end up with hello world. So if you want to print a number, say print 4 or 3. It's as simple as that in Python. So with this first line of code, I hope you've understood how easy Python is to use and implement. So next up, I'm going to use the file now for a few purposes. I'm going to write a simple code to add two numbers and display it just for you guys to be able to understand how the input output operations work. So I start with a equal to, there is something called int input, and then the message that you want to display. Okay. Then if I take an input for these, please, okay, so I've been asked by Ajay Dattatreya how to import in Python. So you don't have to import the IOStream or the studio files in Python. We do import certain modules like math and random, which I will get to later. So you'll get the answer to that question. Okay, so now back to this question. If okay, and also you don't have to declare your variables firsthand like you do in other languages. So if I simply write a C equal to A plus B, then a print C, then I save the file. I'm sorry, there's a technical glitch. It's a little slow here. Okay, so now I'm going to save my file. You save files with the extension. So I'm running that line of code. It's working slowly right now, but it generally is not that slow, so you shouldn't worry about Python being this slow a language. I think it's just a technical glitch, that's why it's working slow. Shell stopped responding. Let me see. Oh. I'm so sorry, there's this internal error happening. I'll just. Okay, let me get back to explaining this to you. So basically, I'll tell you what happens here. A has been inputted by the user. If you enter like a 2 and you are inputting another integer, suppose a 3, what happens is that 5 gets printed as a result. I don't know, there's a technical glitch right now. It was working well a while ago, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. What matters is the concept right now. So let's go and let's move ahead. Let's start with something which we don't know yet, which is there are a lot of, types of data even in Python. For example, right now I've written an int input, so A and B are going to be integers. If instead of an int input, okay, sorry, the Python shell started working. Let's do this. If I enter the first number 3, second number 2, you get a 5. So basic input output operation is what I showed you here. So going back to the various data types, there can be integers. If I put a float here, then it can be a float. If I don't put anything here, it's simply a string. So now one thing that Python does do, which I want to show you and is different from a lot of languages, which is why I have chosen Python for today's seminar, is this. So assuming A is an integer, say 3, okay? If I print A right now, I get a 3. Then if I want to convert this A into another, like a float or a string, for doing this in C and C++, we need to typecast in different ways. But for Python, it's as simple as A equal to, it's already integer, so float of A. If I do this and then I print A, you get a 3.0. And if I do an A equal to str, which stands for string of A, and then I print A, you get a 3.0 again, but this 3.0 is in the form of a string, as in it basically comes with double quotes, which you cannot see here, but that's what has happened. So after knowing this small piece of information, let's go forward. Let's move to the various operators, the plus, the minus, the okay, plus, minus, double equal to is a comparison operator, not equal to. Okay, so Sanjay Mishra has asked me, how does random import choose a number? We are going to go to importing modules in the end, but I want to start with a few basics of Python for a lot of beginners who are watching the program, who are watching the webinar. So I will get to that later, but that's an important question and I will get to it. Moving forward, a double equal to is a comparison operator to check if two values are equal or not. For example, if I do 2 double equal to 2, it's a true. If I do 3 double equal to 2, it's a false. Okay. Then similarly, the greater than less than operator, this is the greater than operator. Then a lot of operators like that. This stands for not equal to, an exclamation mark with an equal to. So if I do a 2 not equal to 2, I get a false. So these are the few relational operators. Now, okay, one more thing, the modulus stands for remainder. This is called, so if I do 3 mod 2, I end up getting a 1. Another thing is that if I do a 3 double division sign by 2, I get a 1, which is just the quotient. But when I do 3 by 2, I get a 1.5, which is basically the decimal value. So these are a few basics of Python which will help you while you code, because when you're writing a code, you might get an error where you want the entire, you don't want the entire number, you don't want a 1.5, you want to know, only get a 1, but your test cases are not passing just because you've used a single slash instead of a double slash. So these are things that you should be careful of while coding in any language for that matter. So okay, so Chaitanya has asked me the different sources from which we can learn Python. There are different courses on Udemy, on Coursera, which you can refer to. You can always come back to this webinar, and you can also PM any of the CodeChef members. I'm sure they'll help you and provide you with a lot of links. So moving on, I'm going to teach you the various data types which are important. So we're going to go through strings, lists, and dictionaries. Now tuples is also a data type. It is similar to lists, so I will just go through that in a quick go. But we're basically going to study strings, lists, and dictionaries first. So strings in Python are very, accessible and very easy to use. If I write something like an A equal to CodeChef, A here is a string. Basic operations with strings are slicing. So if I write something, slicing is basically when I don't want the entire string, I want just a part of the string to be shown, I use slicing. Okay, so A of 0. So if I want to print an A of 0, 0 is basically the first index of any Python code. Okay, I've been asked to go a little bit slow, so I'll go a little slow. Are there any doubts till now? Are you guys understanding everything? Let's wait for 2 minutes. Chaitanya, I'm glad I was able to answer your question. Let's wait for 2 minutes. Let's wait for any doubts. Then we'll move on to strings. Okay, somebody has asked me how they can get into CodeChef VIT. So basically, we conduct recruitments after Gravitas. You can apply then. But till then, you can just watch the webinar. Okay, so nobody's posted any doubts till now. So I'll start a little bit with slicing. If you don't understand anything, please post your questions. I'll answer. Okay, so printing the first index, as I said, any string starts with index 0 in Python. So C has an index 0. So if I want to print A of 0, I end up getting C. Now, if I want to start with the first alphabet and print only code, so that's a 0, 1, 2, 3. But what I need to remember is that the Python interpreter will not utilize the last digit for slicing. Okay, so Sanjay Mishra has a doubt. Can you please tell me what your doubt is so that I can solve it? Okay, till then, if I print 8 to 3, because we assume that, how does the conversion work? Okay, the conversion here is internal. So basically, it's not something that we do on our end. It's something that the interpreter does on its own end. If that's something you want to get into the details of, we can do that after the webinar anytime you want. But that is not something that I can teach in a span of 1 hour. Okay, so you also want to know how a number gets converted to a string. Okay, so let me just finish this slicing part, then I'll get back to that. So if I'm printing an A of 0 to 3, I get a COD because the 3 is not included by the Python interpreter. If I wanted to print CODE, I have to print a 0 to 4. All right. So that way I get code. Now getting back to your question, let's move to your question. Now, if I put an A equal to 3.0 here, okay, A is a float. Now, if I want to convert it to a string, okay, now a float does not have any index, right? So if I just taught you guys slicing. So if I print an A of 0, it will say that there's an error because float object is not subscriptable, means we cannot take out any of the digits or any of the characters from this flow. But if I make it into an A of str of A, I have basically effectively converted A into a string. Now, if I print an A of 0, I end up getting the 3, which is the first extracted alphabet or character, whatever you call it. So this is basically how the type conversion is working. The float has been put inside double quotes, and therefore it has basically converted into a string, been converted into a string effectively. I hope that answers your question. Moving forward, little bit of slicing if you guys have understood. Let's move to a very important, before we go to lists or move further in strings, I want to teach you something very important in Python, which is known as indentation. This is not a habit we follow in many other languages, not in C, not in C++, not in Java. It's just compulsory to Python. So whenever you use C, C++, or Java, where you have a loop or you have an if-else ladder, you use braces, you use curly braces. But Python does not have the concept of curly braces. The concept that Python uses is the concept of indentation. So if any of you are familiar with the if-else ladder is basically used when there are 2 or more conditions and you need to check and then according to that print the result. So if I want to take the age of a certain person and check if that person is eligible for voting or not, okay? So I take age equal to int. I'm sorry, I didn't ask, but if there are any doubts, please keep PMing me. Okay, Sanjay, you want to know how the str function works behind the scenes. That again is, as I said, is not something I can teach in the webinar when there are a lot of people watching and wanting to learn other things. But after the webinar, you can personally text any of the CodeShare members. We would be glad to help you out. Thank you. So if I want to check the age of this person, I ask an age, input, enter age. The legal age for voting in India is 18. So I basically need to check if this guy is older than 18 or not. I use something called an if age is greater than equal to, which is an operator I told you about, 18. Then here is where in any other language you would have put a curly brace, but instead of that, we use a colon. You see how the next line has automatically been indented a little bit towards the right. This is what indentation is. So if age is greater than equal to 18, print eligible to vote. All right. Now, if this is not the case, we can either write an if age is less than 18 here, or we can write an else print not eligible to vote. Okay, now a lot of you may be wondering why I used the else statement here instead of using an if again. This is a very important part of the code, and this is something which is called optimization of our code. It is called using the code effectively and reducing the time that the interpreter takes to compile the code together. If I use an if here and an if in the second statement also, what happens is that the interpreter goes to the first if statements, checks if it is true, then prints it. Then after, even if the first statement is true, it goes to the second statement to check whether that is true or not. If I have used the else statement, it'll check the first statement, it'll see it's true, it'll stop there because the other statement says else. So it does not have to be checked if the first statement is already true. If the first statement is false, then it directly goes to the second statement and prints not eligible to vote because there is no condition given in the second statement. So let me just run this module for you. Enter age, say I'm 19, so I'm eligible to vote. Then I run it again. My little brother is 15, so he is not eligible to vote. So it's as simple as that. Okay, now that I've taught you indentation, let's move a little bit towards loops. Okay, any doubts till now? Any doubts till now? No doubts? Okay, so Muskan Rastogi has asked me to teach her a little bit about the Elif ladder. So let's do that first. The Elif ladder is also something that we use with the if-else ladder. So now we go. Okay, now if we had to check if this person was an adult, a teenager, or not a teenager, a child. So what I would have done was to, instead of here, I would have said adult, then I would have added an elif. 13 is less than equal to age is less than 18. Okay, and I would have printed teenager. And otherwise I would have asked to print child. Okay, now when I run this module, if I'm 2 years old, I'm a child. If I'm 15 years old, I'm a teenager. This shells. 1 second. And if I'm 19 years old, I'm an adult. So that's how the Elif ladder works. It's similar to the if-else ladder. It's just, as I said, if the first statement is true, it does not execute the other two statements. If the second statement is true, it does not execute the third statement. Okay. Okay. Sanjay Mishra is asking me what elif is. So elif basically means else if. So if the first statement is not true, it goes to the elif statement. So it basically means if age is greater than equal to 18, print adult. Else if age lies between 13 to 18, print teenager. So that's how the elif ladder works. Okay, Mohammad Irfan is asking me if this is basic Python. Yes, this is the very basics of Python. This is, this is stuff that is common to every programming language, only the syntax differs. And this is what I'm teaching you today. Okay, so now that we have moved from the if-elif ladder, let's study a little bit about, strings and about lists, and we'll go to loops. Can we use switch case in Python? Okay, so switch case is something which you have generally learned how to use in C, C++. But switch case in Python is not something which we have used. It's limited to C or C++, but Python program does not have a switch case statement. If you use the if-elif ladder, it's similar to that, but there's something that you can use instead. You can use functions, but that is a separate something that you do separately. Switch case does not exist in Python implicitly. All right. Moving on to strings, as I was teaching you guys, I taught you indexing of strings, which is something which is very important. It retrieves the character by position, but there is something that I did not teach you, which is indexing from the end. So again, A equal to CodeChef. Okay. So now A equal to CodeChef. I wanted to extract C. I told you how to do that. I wanted to extract a 0 CODE, that is the 0 to 3. I used 0 to 4 to extract those. Now, what if I want to extract an F? Now, effectively, F is the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th one. So if I print an A of 7, I get an F. But what if I don't know how long the word is? I can do two things. Either I can find the length of the word and then extract the length minus 1 index. But in Python, there's something easier which we can do. which is we can simply print the A of -1. So it just goes from behind and extracts the last alphabet right of there. All right. So moving forward, let's go to something which we use is called the, is upper, is lower, the find, replace statements. These are basic syntaxes that I'll teach you, and this is something you can use. So I used an A equal to CodeChef here. If I want to convert this entire string into uppercase, I simply do an A dot upper with round brackets. Okay. Now, this is what is done is this has been displayed, an A dot upper has been displayed. But if I print A, like you simply write A, will do the same thing. But while you're writing in the editor, you can't simply write A, you have to write a print A. But for easy purposes, I'm just typing A here. Don't get confused by that. You get a CodeChef. Because what I've done is I've not converted A into uppercase. What I've done is I have just printed the uppercase of A. Now that if I want to convert A to uppercase, what I have to do is an A equal to A dot uppercase. If I do that, and then I print A, I find CodeChef in the uppercase. Similarly, there's an A dot lower, which will convert it into lowercase. Now, if I want to know how many times a certain alphabet occurs in the entire string, I use something which is called an A dot count. So if I do an A dot count and I want to see how many times C occurs, I type a C here 2 times. Now, if I want to find the position of a particular letter, okay? If I want to find the position of a particular letter, what I do is I do an A dot find. So now the question is that C occurs 2 times in the string. So how do I find, like, which one will be displayed? Okay. So if I do an A dot find C, I get a 0. Why do I get a 0? Because 0 is the first occurrence of the alphabet. Okay. So if I type, if there is a string and I want to find the second time the alphabet occurs or the third time the alphabet occurs, you have to write a C comma, the number which you have to find it in. Okay. So another one is the string dot replace. So if I want to replace the C with a T, well, it will look damn weird, but let's do it. Replace. So I have to write a replace X or Y. So I have to replace. Yes, I will teach you about lists and tuples. Let's move forward from strings. Then we'll move forward to lists and tuples. So if I want to replace a C with a T, what it shows is a total theft, because what has happened is that the C has been replaced by a T. So effectively, that's what's happening. So, and there's another thing which is called, okay, you want to change only one letter of A to an uppercase. Yes, you can do that. You can do that by accessing the position of that letter. So right now we have an A equal to CodeChef. Let's see what A is. The A is entire CodeChef. Suppose I want to replace the O here to lowercase. What I do is A. If we don't know how many times it's repeating, can we find it? Okay, let me answer Tanish's question first, then I'll move on to you, Ajay. So Tanish, if I want to replace an O, which is in the second position, I write an O of second position is effectively 1 in Python language. An A of 1 is equal to an A of 1 dot lower. I'm sorry, I need to copy that again. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not working here because it's a string. So for a string, if you want to do something like this, what you will have to do is run something which is called a loop. What you can do is you will make a new string and then you will keep adding on the elements of the of the string to the new string. We'll get back to that later. It's easier to do this in lists because lists are mutable. So what your question was a very interesting question because it makes me tell you one more thing, Tanish, that a string is something which is immutable, which means that you cannot go to just one alphabet of the string and do it specifically with one command. You need to use a loop on that. What I'm showing you, the dot lower, the dot upper, is going to work with lists because lists are going to be mutable. All right. And Ajay, you said if I want to find the number of times that something occurs. So I showed you the use of the count statement here. Here is the count statement. So if I do an a dot count C, it has been counted that C occurs 2 times. All right. And thanks, Sanjay Mishra. I do hope we find faculties like me. Moving forward, let's go to loops. So loops are something which is used for repetition in Python or in any other languages. If there is a line of code that you need to run more than once, you use loops. So going back to my file. Okay, so there are two types of loops. One is the for loop and one is the while loop. They both take the same amount of time to run, so there is no effective difference. Everybody has a favorite. My favorite is the for loop. I generally use the for loop for all purposes, but that depends on you. I'm going to teach you both of them. You can use whichever one you're comfortable with. Okay, so starting with the for loop, if I want to print numbers from 1 to 5, I can either write a print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, print 5, but that makes the code redundant and not so nice to look at also. Instead, what I'm going to do is for I in range, this is the syntax. For I in range 1, comma 6, print I. So when I run this, okay, so when I run this, I found a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what I've done is I've used a loop to print 5 different numbers, and these 5 different numbers have been printed without having to redundantly type print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, print 5. So this is how a for loop works. And the while loop, if I want to do the same thing using a while loop, I will have to initialize I to 1. Then I write a while I is less than 6, a print I. Okay. So let me remove the for loop for us to see how the while loop is running. One second. Okay, so there's an infinite loop running here, and I'll tell you why. The infinite loop ran because I was always equal to 1. I did not increase the value of I. So if you want the infinite loop to stop and a proper loop to run, I need to use the I equal to I plus 1, which effectively increases the value of I each time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are there any more doubts? I'm going to stop here and wait for you to ask doubts about this part. So any doubts till now? Have you been able to understand everything I said? I'm going to wait for another minute while you guys can ask me any doubts you have. Okay, so somebody asked me the types of loops in Python, and somebody has asked me what are the types of loops in Python. So the types of loops in Python are the while loop and the uh, for loop. You can also use something which is called the do while loop, which is not that common, but we use it anyway. But the basic loop that you always use are the for loop and the while loop. And in fact, you can use the while true loop to run a situation if you don't know how many times you want the loop to go on. Like that depends on various questions that you get. So that's basically the types of loops that you can use. Okay, so somebody's also asked me the difference between Unicode and string. So this is basically what used to happen in Python 2 as far as I remember. There were two types could be used to that two types could be used to represent strings. One of them was the str, which was a byte string type. That means it represented a sequence of bytes in some particular text encoding. Basically, there's something called the ASCII value to which it was defaulted. The other, like the Unicode, was a Unicode string, and it's basically the name is str. It's just a Unicode. So there's not a lot of difference. There's a difference on how the interpreter is interpreting it. One is basically a sequence of bytes defaulted to the ASCII. The other is just a Unicode. Okay, and I've been asked how to use loops. I mean, why do we need loops? As I told you, if you do not use loops in your code will become extremely long, because if I want to print a lot of numbers, I will have to keep typing a lot of print statements to do that. And especially numbers are a very small challenge. Getting to bigger stuff when you're writing a lot of lines of codes, if you do not use loops, you will go crazy. You won't be able to work properly. So it is very extremely important to be using loops in your code. All right. So moving on, should we move on to the next topic then? My next topic for today is going to be lists. Now lists are mutable. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we'll be able to do with lists. So first, a list is displayed by one second, let me go to the shell. A list is displayed by round brackets. So if I write an L equal to two square braces, a list has been assigned to the value L. So now if I print L, I get an empty list. If I want to add a value to the list, okay, so somebody had asked me, can we build GUIs using Python? So Python does offer multiple options for developing GUIs. For those of you who do not know what GUI means, they basically mean graphical user interface. Out of all the, there are a lot of GUI methods, but Kinter, is the most commonly used method. So yes, you can use Python to you build GUIs, but that is not something that we'll get into in this seminar. Okay. So if I want to add an element to this list, I write an l.append. If I want to add like a Muskan, then if I write an L, it shows Muskan. Now, if I want to append another element, like add another element, if I want to append an L dot append a RIA to this, and then if I print L, it shows Muskan RIA. So basically, you can add as many elements to the list as you want. Now, somebody had asked me the use of for loops before. Here, if I want to append 10 values to the list, I can simply write append l.append values inside a for loop instead of having to append 10 different times for 10 different names. So that's how a loop is going to be useful here. So basically, this is what a list looks like. So let me make another list. Suppose it's an L equal to Muskan, Ria, Shreya, Saloni. Okay, that's it. If this is the list and I want to extract a certain element from the list, I use an L of 0 and I get Muskan. Then I use an, okay, somebody is asking me about tuples. I will get to tuples later. I will get back to that, but let's concentrate on lists first. L of 0. Then if I want an L of, say, I want the first two elements. So I get a Muskan Ria here. So this is basically slicing in lists, which is very similar to slicing in strings. But somebody had asked me how to, change just a specific element of the list. If I want to change only Ria to uppercase, I will write an L of 1. One second, let me just make the screen larger. An L of 1 equal to an L of 1 dot upper. Then when I type an L, Ria turns into caps lock. Okay. Then when I go to the next one, okay, so the next one is going to be something which if I want to delete Ria from this list, I use the remove method. So the remove method is basically del L of 1. So Ria has been deleted from this list. Now when I type L, I get Muskan Shreya Saloni. All right. We can do a lot of things with lists also, but we won't get into the details of everything today. But I just wanted to show you how this works. Now that I have shown you how this works, I want to show you something which is very special to Python and which is one of the few reasons why Python is a very comfortable language to work with. When I want to access elements from a list, for example, L equal to Muskan, Ria, Shreya, Divya. Okay, now that I have written this, I go, one second. If I want to access each element of the list, what I can simply do is write a for I in L, a print I. All right. If I run this, I simply get all the elements. I can also do something which is for I in range 0, len of L, print L of I. What this will do is this will take each element from the list. Now I in the previous loop was accessing elements. I in this loop is accessing indexes. So it's accessing 0 first, then printing L of 0, then it's accessing 1 and printing L of 1, then it's accessing 2 and printing L of 2, and so on. Okay, so it's effectively doing the same thing, but that program was simply easier to write. All right. See, you get Muskan Ria Shreya Divya again. Okay, so any doubts for lists, anything else you want me to teach you when it comes to lists? Another very good part, one second, let me just put this into a list first, Control plus C. If L equal to this list, and what was I teaching you guys? Yes. If L equal to this list and I want to reverse this list, I simply do this. And L dot, the list has been reversed. Okay. Now, if there is a list with numbers like a 3, 7, 1, 9. Okay. And if I want to find the maximum of this list, I can simply use something called the max_val. If I want to find the minimum, I can simply use something which is called the minimum of L. Okay, so these are a few basic Python methods. These are a few Python methods which are used in lists, and they basically are there to make your work easier. There are a lot of other methods. There's the insert method, the remove method, the count method, the sort method, the copy method. All these methods are similar as they're similar as list as strings. All right. So any doubts for lists? Are there any doubts for lists now? I'll take like a 2-minute break here. Oh, so there's this person who wants to know something about list comprehension also. So list comprehension is basically when you make a list using one sentence. I will teach you that. Let me show it to you here. Okay, so if I write an L equal to X or X in Muskan. X for X in Musk. Then if I print L, it shows a list with MUSK. So what has happened here is X has gone to Musk and gone to take out each alphabet and appended it to the list. This is what list comprehension means in Python. Any other doubts? Acha, Ajay is asking me to not forget how to import. I will show you guys how to import. It's not very difficult. Okay, let me show you how to import right now because that's a topic which is not related to any other topic. So let's import the random module. Okay, so there's a random module in Python which is used to, get random integers. Okay, so import random. So what basically has happened here is that a random module has been imported by the Python interpreter. Now, what I can do with the random module is that there are a lot of, there are a lot of inbuilt functions in the random module, the random.random, the random.uniform, anything. So let's start with the random.indent function. So if I write an r equal to random dot, okay, I've been asked why we've used only x as the variable. You can use any variable. Variables are like you can call the variable yourself. Yeah, like anything. That's not an issue. So like I'm using an r here. Random.random. If I write a 1, 10, it displays a number between 1 and 10. Okay. So print r. Okay, so a 3 has been entered here. So what's happened is that the random module has been imported and then a specific integer has been taken out from the random module. So this is basically how that works. Then there are other modules also like the math module, a lot of modules which you can use. Like if you want to square root a number, you use the math.sqrt function. So there are a lot of modules that can be imported. Okay. So now you've also asked me where the imported files come from. Where are they stored? They are stored inside, like they're there in the inbuilt libraries of Python. And somebody's asked me if you can use the xrange function in Python. Yes, you can use the xrange function in Python. And it's not a practice which is very often used, but it is something you can do, so you shouldn't bother about that. Okay. So now that we're done with this, we'll move on to the last topic for today because covered about, we've almost covered an hour. Okay, Ajay has asked me to explain again. What was your question? Okay, you've asked me to explain import again. So import. Okay, so import is basically when you take a module and you use functions specific to that module in your code. So if I want to use the square root function, or if I want to generate a random number, I use something which is called the import function. When I'm importing math, there are a lot of built-in functions in math which I can use. What I showed you was the random import. What I showed you was the random import, which is used to generate random numbers. Okay, so if I use this option and I run this, I get a 10 because I had asked to generate a number between 1 and 10 inclusive. Okay, so you've asked me how I can know if all the functions or methods a module offers. Okay, so the you can obviously, you go to help here and Python docs and then other demo and find out a lot about this. Otherwise, you can easily Google this, type the various functions in a certain module, you'll get all of them. There are books you can go through. There are, there are a lot of courses that you can get all this from. The last topic from today, the last topic for today that I'm going to teach is somebody asked me about tuples, no? So now tuples and dictionaries are not very different. The only thing is that you use tuples when you're very sure about your data and you don't want to change your data. They work very similarly. And you use lists when the data is something that you might end up changing. So a tuple is used like this. If I write an a equal to round brackets में 1, 2, 3, then a is a tuple. This is something which is not mutable. So if I write an a of 0 equal to 2, it'll show a tuple. It'll show an error that tuple object does not support item assignment. But if I do the same thing for the lists, it does not have any problem at all. It simply changes the 0th element to 3. Now going on to the last topic, which is dictionaries. The last topic for today, which is dictionaries. Dictionaries are something which use a key value pair. Okay. So whenever there are things like, for example, registration number and names, you generally want to store them together. So either what you can do is, in a place where dictionaries would not exist, you would make two separate lists and with the same indexes storing the registration numbers and the names respectively. But now that you have something called dictionaries, I can simply write an A equal to, curly braces are used for dictionaries, 18 bit 0280, a colon, then a Muskan. Okay, so now if I print the A, I get this. Okay, okay. So this is what a dictionary does. This is what a dictionary is like. And a dictionary, for you to be able to understand how dictionary works, guys should be practicing a lot of code, because you may be attending webinars and you may be attending courses, but if you do not practice code, you will not be able to understand. If you write code, you'll figure out the importance of dictionaries, because there'll be times where you want to access elements and you only know if I only know the registration number of one person and I want to access the details, a dictionary is something which will be extremely helpful to me, because I can also do something like this. If I write an 18 bit 0280, and here I store, instead of storing just the name, I store a Muskan, I store my age, I can store a lot of stuff. So now when I type in A, I get this. So with the help of the key, which is my registration number, I've been able to get a lot of data about the same person. So when you want to access data by registration number or by any key value, dictionary is something you can always use. So for today, I think that's all. I want to know if there are any questions. So Sai is asking me if we can use loops in dictionaries and increment values and assign information related to it. Yes, you may do that. What you will have to do is apply a bit of logic here. So with the key, whenever you write, if here I write for an I in A, the I will stand for the key value. And let me show you this. This is a good question. Somebody's also asked me to recommend a good book for Python. Well, you should go through website courses more, because that's more informative, and when you see videos, it's easier. But there's this book called Learning Python the Hard Way, and that is one of the good books that I've seen on Python. But it's for people who don't know programming at all. So if you're absolutely a beginner, you should use that book. Otherwise, you can simply use the online courses. Okay, so this question that you asked me, okay, so if this is what I do for I in A, print I. If I run module, I get an 18bit0280, which means that the I here is actually standing for the key value. Now, if I want to add a value to the list, as you asked me, what I have to do is an A of I, which is this list, dot append. And what do I want to add? Suppose I want to add my date of birth, the 22nd May. Okay. So if I run this, then I want to, no, I don't want to print this. I just wanted to add it. 1 second. Then if I want to print A again, and run this. See, so as you said, I used the list, incremented a value to the list and displayed the dictionary. So it is possible to do that. Are there any more questions? Are there any more questions? You've asked me if I've recommended some book for Python for you. And I hope I've answered your question on incrementing of the list. I'm waiting for more questions, then I'll close the webinar. Okay, yes, if you've asked me if there's any shortcut to join two dictionaries, we can use the method update or the function update. By using the method update, we can join one list into another. It's basically, that's for lists though. For dictionaries, it's a trick. You got to use the star operators, or you could basically got to append character by character. It's easier. And if I've been asked if I'm not going to teach functions in Python, I do not have the time to teach functions in Python today. But if we do an advanced webinar in Python, I will get back to functions, classes, objects, data handling, file handling, all of that. Any questions till what I've taught you, like for what I've taught you till now? Because if not, I'll be signing off in 5 minutes. Okay, somebody's asked me from where you can practice coding. To practice coding, I basically use HackerRank. It's one of my favorite websites. It's got a lot of questions, a lot of solutions, a lot of tests. You can use HackerRank, HackerEarth. There are a lot of other CodeMonk and everything. You can use them, so that's okay. But mostly HackerEarth and HackerRank are the best ones. You've asked me the name of the book again. It's called Learning Python the Hard Way. But again, I would recommend using online courses because they are much more, they're easier to use. They're more practically, applicable to your laptops or your computers, wherever you work on your desktops. So Kaksh Mishra has said he'll try to join CodeChef VIT. Please do after Gravitas. We have our recruitments. Any other doubt till now? All right, then I'll be going offline then. This video is going to be available to you guys even after I go. So thank you. Bye-bye.